I got to just had the privilege of joining our AA group on Friday nights, led by one of our own that had a story and journey of him coming clean. And now that this little group grew from about 5 to now almost 65, 70 people meeting in this room. And in fact, this Friday in the baptismal, we're going to baptize 9 of them. Yes, amen for that, yes. But you know what I loved? I'm going to share a couple stories from that group. It was so beautiful. One, let me give you all 3 of these, and then I want to unpack just my experience at that group, and I think it'll tie these in. So 2 is show up for others. 3 is be compassionate. And 4 is celebrate wins. I saw all of these in that AA group. Dallas Willard says, if you want the most beautiful picture of a disciple of a church, it's in 12-step program. It's in AA. Because here's a group of people that aren't pretending like they have it all together. Where many have hit rock bottom and say, I've got nowhere else to go. And what I love about this group, it's a hybrid group where they're preaching Jesus, they're sharing the gospel, and they're doing this. But at the beginning of the whole portion of the group begins with a section where, you know what they do? They just say, hey, who's been clean for 5 days? And somebody stands up, and you know what they all do? Just celebrate. 30 days, 6 months, year, 5 years. And the celebration in the room is real. They're happy for another's success. And they also know what it's like to be broken and to see a life being transformed. But then this other one, there were people that began to show and share testimonies. And one of them just said how important it was when somebody showed up for them. Now, church, I want us to get this. Because just by showing up, you can transform a person's life. You don't have to be super smart. You don't have to be super affluent or have money to fix their situation, but you can give them what God gives us in its presence. It's to be with somebody when they're hurting. It's to be with somebody when they're broken and when they're low. And I want to invite you this week, how can I show up for somebody when it's difficult? How can I be there for somebody when it's challenging? To be compassionate. To remember when somebody's struggling with something that we are sinners saved by grace and that we're called to help somebody else. The other one, celebrate, like I mentioned, celebrate wins, but that compassionate part, this was so cool. 2 different people in the group raised their hand and said, I was going through the program and I was struggling to get clean. And then I looked at some of my mentors and people ahead of me, and I saw 2 different people said this. They said, I saw, and this is step number 12 in the 12 steps. They said, I saw that they were giving their lives for others, they were helping others, and I still wasn't. So somebody was going steps 1 through 11, but they said, I wasn't contributing to society, and I was still only focused on myself. I was a narcissist. And they said, I wasn't having breakthrough. But I looked at my mentors who helped others and blessed others, and their lives were significant. And it wasn't until then that my life turned around. 2 different people said that. And I began to pray, and I almost just, in that moment, just almost wanted to weep because I said, I wanted that for the church. If the church could understand, I'm still struggling with this sin, I'm not having breakthrough. Why? Because my life is still about myself. And maybe we don't realize that yet, but what John is saying, Jesus says this, right? Anyone who tries to save their life will lose it. But anyone who gives their life away will find it. So if you're struggling with worry, anxiety, depression, receive help for these things, but some of it is because your life and my life is centered so much around ourselves. And maybe it might be a time for us to focus not just on ourselves, but in a relationship with God who renews us, and now He calls us to serve one another. Amen.